You know, I always wondered, I've kind of become synonymous with two simple words in this Last of Us community. I always wondered how many people actually say the words with me when the video begins, or do you just cringe? And just thinking, you know what? This will be the one chance. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Hey now everybody, this is Man Circle 70 bringing you a special Last of Us video. Like, wow. All my little circles out there, I want you to just soak this in like a sponge. This is a very special Last of Us Part 2 version of Hunter's Kitchen. What is going on, you crazy cannibals? Are you in the search of that perfect meal for that Sunday straggler dinner? Well, guess what? The HCC, or the Hunter's Cooking Channel, is watching your ass. Today, we are cooking up some beautiful steaks here. Now today, we have two of the exact same cuts of meat, but there's a difference. One is a wolf, the other is a seraphite. Now, what is the drastic difference between the two cuts of meat? That's simple. The seraphite, it's more bitter. It's just missing all this fat, this juiciness. It's just stale. So we're gonna bump this up with a nice wet rub and marinade. On the other hand, the wolf. Look at all this fat. Look at all this marbling. That is because they are sitting pretty in that stadium, just scarfing it all in, just dining, just burritos. And by the way, if you've never had a California burrito, oh, good night. Oh my goodness gracious. Some of the best food. San Diego, shout outs to San Diego. You have some of the best burritos ever. The carne asada, the shrimp burritos. Ooh, there's no telling why there's so much more fat on a wolf than a scar. So for the wolf, we're going to be doing a dry rub. It doesn't need all that extra goodness and juiciness. The scar, on the other hand, we're going to need some help with this. First things first, we're going to need to make the marinade, plus we're also going to make some sides as well. I'm going to take you through a step by step. Bobby, stop all that barking. What was I saying? I'm going to take you through a step-by-step instructions of how you can create such a beautiful dish for the entire family. So my plan is simple. I'm going to make a lovely mash, but I'm going to put a little twist on it. And also, I'm thinking some grilled zucchini, just as a side to complement the beef. So one thing we're going to do is we're going to put in 3 strips of bacon into this pan. This is wild boar bacon, straight out of the Appalachian Mountains. It's been smoked and cured. We're just going to put 3 strips on there, let them cook up, and then we're going to be using everything from it. We're going to use the bacon, we're going to use a little bit of the grease. That's going to actually enhance the zucchini later on. Alright, so what I have here is all the things that we're going to be utilizing for the marinade. I have about a teaspoon of garlic, plus I have a mixture of different seasonings here. We have about a tablespoon of crushed black pepper, garlic powder, paprika. Then we have about a teaspoon of onion powder, a teaspoon of ground coriander, about a teaspoon of dill weed, as well as a teaspoon of red crushed pepper flakes. Now we also have David Brent's Worcestershire sauce. We're going to use about a tablespoon of that. We're going to use Lord Sir Teriyaki sauce. We're going to use about a tablespoon of that as well. 1 tablespoon of Look soy sauce. We're going to use about a tablespoon of Valkyrie's extra virgin olive oil. That's the 8.887 fluid ounce bottle, as well as a little bit of salt. So we have a side of salt representing here. I'm gonna take the garlic in there. Take all those seasonings over in there. Put about 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, tablespoon of the extra virgin olive oil. So I'm out. And what happens when you're out, get in the bin! Teriyaki sauce here. Salt. Okay. It's a beautiful cut of meat. Now this part of the meat is actually from the back here. So it goes down the spine. It's a strap that runs from the top of the shoulder all the way down. Now, on the wolves, however, unfortunately, they don't have a spine. So it's kind of like filleting a chicken with no bones. Cerafite, on the other hand, oh yeah. Fortunately, there's not a lot of fat. Mainly because the elders are the ones that hog all the good shit. Meanwhile, all the poor folk and all the people they send out on runs, the ones that we can easily catch, oh yeah, they lack that fat that's going to grill up nicely. So we're going to enhance that with a wet marinade. Now, you can marinate this. We're going to do 20 minutes, but you can do anywhere from 20 minutes all the way to a couple days. The longer it marinates, the more it's going to seep into that meat and be fantastic. But 20 minutes minimum. We're going to pop this into the fridge. Like I said, we're just going to do a dry rub on these wolf cuts. They're about an inch and a quarter. So this is going to go into the fridge. Meanwhile, I'm going to flip over this bacon that's been cooking. If you're going to cook a meal, you got to multitask. You know what I mean? That's going to bring out so much flavor in the potatoes that we're going to be making, as well as the grease, like I said, we're going to use on the vegetables. So 20 minutes. Meanwhile, we'll prep all the other things. I got some zucchinis here, got some green onion I got to cut up, as well as peeling the potatoes. So the whole reason behind all of this wonderful goodness was because I was given the opportunity to head out west. You know, normally we're East Coast boys. So what we did was we headed out toward Idaho, stopped off in North Dakota to see my boy Squirrel, and then we picked up some Idaho potatoes, the best potatoes in the world, still grows wild today. Rule of thumb with potatoes is that since we're going to have 4 folks, 4 steaks, you always want to have 1 more potato than you have people. Nobody likes to run out of mashed potatoes. I don't know what it is, but it just brings down the mood whenever you run out of potatoes. So you want to see some movie magic? Like how? Alright. So you typically with a potato, I'm just going to cut in half, then in half again, like so. So the secret behind a good mash is to have equal pieces. So what I'm doing here with the potatoes is I'm trying to cut them into equal size and shape. The closer they are to weight, the better the mash will turn out. Little known fact. I must be spamming circle because I'm dropping a lot of tea bags. Huh? See what I did there? Always take your tab. Use that to siphon out the tea. So that way you don't burn yourself. You can call that a little tea strats. It's a little green tea with honey. Picked that up on this latest trip, passing through Santa Claus, Indiana. Go figure. I'm going to slide the potatoes. Missed the pot a bunch of times. You're going to fill up the pot with water just to the top of the potatoes. Now when you're going to boil the potatoes, you always want to add salt. The buoyancy from the salt will help the potatoes pop. There was a chef that I trained with. His name was Vince, up in Altoona, Pennsylvania. He showed me that trick. So while I got the potatoes cooking, all this came about. We took a road trip. We don't leave the East Coast very often, but when we do, we make it worth it. Ran along into a couple of groups on the way over. Some groups call themselves the Rattlers. They were all wearing orange sunglasses with SW on the side of them. They were easy pickings. Now, the scars. I don't understand the whole, people call us crazy because we're cannibals and stuff, but, at least we're not believing in all that, may she guide you, la la la, look for the light from the wolves and the fireflies and all these. They're crazier than we are. May she guide you. More like, may she starve you. What we're going to do with these zucchinis here, I'm going to cut them in half and in half. We're going to go halfway down the middle. So halfway down the middle, halfway down the middle. That wasn't halfway. Halfway down the middle and halfway down the middle. Now, you're going to end up with a half moon. We're going to cut the half moon in half to make it a quarter moon. So you have a quarter piece of zucchini, perfect size, just like that. Just like that. And just like that. So what you end up with is a perfect piece of quarter zucchini. Now, it is true, they do get thicker, like that. In those cases, you're going to cut it in half. And then the trickier part is you're going to cut this in half as well. So you're going to, right, just like that. So you end up with a pizza slice, basically. So, something like that. The other thing we're going to cut up now, that way I don't have to do it later, is going to be the green onion. The green onions are going to be... Potatoes are talking to me. How you chop up a green onion is very similar to a ramp. If you've never heard of a ramp is like a thicker green onion. A buddy of mine from Philly, he told me about ramps. They grew up exclusively in the Appalachian Mountains. This was like a really, really beautiful guy. You ever seen a beautiful guy? One would say that he was almost cursed with beauty. Anyway, he told me about ramps, and they are fantastic. But they only grow for a month period, and you have to catch it just at the right time, and they grow wild. And they're just like a bigger version of a green onion, except to make your fart smell. To be brutally blunt. So what you're going to do is you want to smear all of this lovely skins to clean it up. We're going to cut off the tails. Cut off the tails. Then from there, get a good quarter knife. Now the reason why I use something like that is because it's got that action. If you use a flat knife, you don't really, it doesn't rock. You want a nice rocking knife, just like that. Just like that. So, you cut off the tips. And then you want to... Excuse me one second. Alright. Now where was I? Oh yeah. Just going to bunch these up together. You want to do a rocking motion with the knife. Rocking. fingers cut inward, or when I'm holding the vegetables, I'm inward like this, so that when I rock it against my finger, I won't cut myself. I could look at you and still not cut myself. You do that so you don't cut off a finger. Just rock it. And you have something like that. Good old cutting tips here from your friends at the HCC, the Hunter's Cooking Channel. So we got the potatoes boiling. All the while, we've just taken out the meats. One thing about meat, if you want to grill it perfectly, you want to take it out of the refrigerator, out of the coolant, for about 20 minutes to a half an hour before you plan on actually adding heat to it. What this does, it's going to lock in those flavors. It's going to produce a great sear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fire up the grill with some charcoal, but in the meantime I'm also going to be adding a little bit of, just a little bit. We have some of that seasoning that I was talking about earlier. I'm going to use about maybe 2 tablespoons of it, and I'm just going to throw it in here. This is what they call a dry rub. Now the reason why it's called a dry rub is because it's dry. That's about it. It's going to get all over that. We're going to rub it all over the fat. You want to get it on the fat. The salts are going to break down that fat. What you end up with is a gorgeous piece of meat that looks like that. Just beautiful. The scars piece has now been marinated a while, and it's got some deeper, darker colors to it, which is ironic because the scars are some deep and dark people, am I right? So the potatoes are almost done. The trick with potatoes is that you want to be able to stick a fork in it and either have it just split apart and crumble so you can get a good mash, or you can actually stick it and then lift it, and then it'll actually slide down the fork and off the fork. But this is, yeah, these are done. So with the potatoes being done, what we're actually going to do is take them over to the colander. We're going to dump it into the colander, like so. We're going to sift through a little bit, and then we're actually going to take that, dump that back into the pot, and set the colander on top. Now why do we do that? We do that for 2 reasons. One, because you don't immediately just throw into a mash. You want to allow the steam to sift around through the mash without being fully released, but just a little bit. Almost like when you leave a stovepipe open on the grill. What that's going to do for the mash, it's going to make the potatoes light and airy, which is what you want. So we're going to let that sit for about, I don't know, just a few minutes. You don't have to be crazy about it. You just don't want to just jump into it right away. I'm going to take that bacon. That bacon that we cooked up a long time ago. I'm just going to chop it up, just making my own fresh bacon bits. Here's the secret with milk. You never want to put cold, ice cold, freezing cold milk into your hot mash. You want to let that sit at room temperature for about half an hour prior to. Now what I did was I mixed together the butter, just salt and pepper. Now slowly start pouring in the milk and adding just like a spritz until you get that consistency to where you want it. So when you're done, you have some beautiful aerated potatoes. Just beautiful. Like so beautiful that you can't even they won't come out when you flip them. That's how fluffy, but that's also how thick they are. You never want watery potatoes. The lovely bacon. And to top off, we're going to be putting in some Amos the grated natural cheese. Now this is the triple cheddar version, so this is shredded Vermont white cheddar, sharp cheddar, as well as mild cheddar. Think about, let's see, I used 5 potatoes. I used almost a third of the milk, so I'll probably do about equal. So about maybe half a cup. We're gonna pop in that green onion. Saving just a pinch maybe for garnish. It's actually thickening up a little bit, so I'm going to use the last splash. I absolutely knew it. I actually knew it when I eyeballed those 5 potatoes. I knew it was about a third cup of milk that I was going to be using, and dang, was that perfect. The good part about mashed potatoes, and you know what, I could be, you know, they could hate me for this, but I think the best part about mashed potatoes is that you can get them out of the way. You can put them in the oven, and they really don't taste all that different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into an oven-safe bowl. Dude, the bacon with the cheese, with the onions, it works. So this is going to sit in the oven just to stay warm. That's it. It's going to build up like maybe like a little slight crust on it, like when you have twice baked potatoes. Don't pay any mind to that. It's still going to taste delicious. Alright, so the grill's almost ready. Hey, there's Bobby. Dump in these hot coals right here. We're going to take these beautiful, beautiful steaks, and we're going to throw them right on top of the grill. Just like that. Just like that. So we have the wolf side and we have the scar side. Alright, so the most scariest part of the meal is the cooking time of the meat. That's the question of the day. How long do you cook for? How long do you cook for? For a piece of meat that is 1 to 1.5 inches, you want to give it a good 5 minutes here on both sides. Then you want to rest. So 5 minutes on the clock for this side, 5 minutes for another side, and then we want to bring it in and rest it for about another 10 minutes. I'm going to let it rest for the same amount of time that I cooked it for. This is my prize carving set, made with actual deer antlers. There's a funny story behind this actually. So many years ago, a really close buddy of mine, he was out hunting with a friend. Came across a little girl who had shot a deer. They got into a little scuffle, a little argument. I mean, David was always a guy who was misunderstood. He was one of those guys that loved people but hated gatherings. So long story short, he brought back a deer that this little, I don't know, she was like 14 or something. She'd shot. He brought it back to camp, and we used that to make these nice handles for my carving set. And fortunately, he got killed by that little girl. And you know, I always said if I ran into her, never found her. Never found her. But this beautiful set was made out of the deer that she had shot and they brought back and we ate. I remember I butchered it that day, and it's a beautiful set. So This is what we'll be using to slice up these steaks here. So it has been 5 minutes. Oh, they look so good. Here's what we'll do. We'll give them a quick flip. Just like that. And we will give them 5 more minutes. Alright, so while that second round of steaks is cooking, I have here a cast iron grill pan. We're going to put that on medium-high heat. And now we're going to utilize that bacon grease from before. So I got a brush here. I'm brushing in some of the bacon grease here. And we're going to just paint. Just paint. Like a Bob Ross. I'm just going to paint. With the zucchini, we're going to only be adding in a little bit of pepper. Just a little bit of pepper to complement the saltiness that's going to come off the bacon grease. Yeah, so we splashed a little bit of pepper onto the zucchini. We're not going to put in any additional seasonings because of the bacon grease from the pan. And we're just going to lay it on. We're going to put it on one side, cook for a few minutes, and then we're going to flip it over to the other side. Alright, so let's get this steak off. Gotta let them rest for 10 minutes. As they rest, the juices just start pouring out of these steaks. Just pouring. You don't want to puncture anything. Keep all the juices inside. But meanwhile, what we'll do is we'll flip over these zucchinis. So that's the idea. The cast iron skillet with the griddle is going to give them nice grill marks throughout. Man, they look good. They smell good too. Now that the steaks have rested, I'm going to plate up. You know, one thing I forgot to mention is I like to keep my own sauces around. One that complements the flavor of the folks that I'm eating. This one in particular, it's about 16 ounces of mayo. I did around like 1.5 to 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, a couple knobs of melted butter, probably about 2 tablespoons, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, like 2 teaspoons of onion powder, like 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika. I did about a 1/3 to a 1/4 cup of hot water, and then also about a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. This is a sauce, like I said, that will complement even the most sourest of humans. So we're going to drop this right there like that. And we also need some potatoes. Just gonna a couple of these on top there just for garnish. And now the main course here. So I wanted a nice medium to medium rare. Let's see how we did here. Oh. You tell me if that isn't a perfect mid-rare. Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh, just a nice, beautiful Sunday meal with your fellow stragglers. We gotta try. Oh, we gotta try this. Oh, we gotta try. Ooh, we gotta try that again. Whew. Oh, man. Oh, self high five. Oh. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this parody mixture of fun and excitement. I hope you learned something too. Like, comment, all that good stuff. Share, share. Send this one up to the devs and Neil Druckmann and all them. That'd be funny. But anywho, this is Man Circle 70 saying that if you see a scar or you see a wolf, invite him to dinner.